Hello bandits. With thanks to the folks at Ubisoft, I'm taking a look at a galaxy far, far away with their new open world adventure Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws sees players taking the role of Kay Vess, an up-and-coming scoundrel living in the city of Canto Bight, which players may remember from the Last Jedi Slicer recovery sequence. As Kay, you'll team up with your adorable sidekick Nix, following a story which will lead through Imperial conflict and various new locations, as well as some from the known Star Wars universe. There is a lot to get to grips with in Star Wars Outlaws, and as you progress you'll need to manage relationships with the various syndicates, which will have a very real impact on gameplay as you gain or lose favour. Outlaws does have a decent main quest as well as a significant number of side quests and activities which you can pick up by speaking to people around town as well as overhearing conversations. You can also work to improve skills through meeting objectives set by local experts, providing new abilities and buffs in various areas. While it is relatively basic, after fixing up the Trailblazer, players will also get in some extra planetary exploration and space combat, which I've found to be an enjoyable arcade experience. You can keep upgrading and customising the Trailblazer as well as the speeder bike and your blaster, with a good number of different perks as well. To complete missions, especially if you don't have favour with the local syndicate, players will have to sneak a fair bit, and while blasting your way through is possible most of the time, it can definitely be pretty tricky. This is something which the team have already said they are looking to balance out, which is great to hear as it will open up the game to many more people. Star Wars Outlaws is rated by PEGI at 12 and above and by the ESRB at T for teen. Obviously there is a fair amount of violence in Outlaws, but when you get down to it, it is mostly punches and lasers and doesn't come with anything gory. There is some simulated gambling in game which might not be for everybody, and while this can be avoided, it is something that your young ones can participate in. Overall, it is one which I'm happy for our 10-year-old micro bandit to play, and it's one which I'm rating as mostly harmless but not entirely family friendly. It's also worth noting that sneaking sections can be tough, and while they are looking to balance this, we don't yet know what that means, and younger players may not get an action-oriented adventure which they're looking for. And with that stacked up onto the rundown, my 5-point rating for Star Wars Outlaws. Gameplay 4. I really enjoy the variety on offer in Star Wars Outlaws. General platforming and combat mechanics are decent, and while it's not for everybody, I really enjoy the stealth gameplay. There are some elements such as cloud saves which are non-functional currently, but the core mechanics of the game are solid and have obviously been well considered. Visuals 3. While visuals can be beautiful a lot of the time, I have found that there are also a good number of rough edges here. It has been harder than usual to get a really nice picture in photo mode, which is a shame as the environments have had a huge amount of effort to make the game feel as Star Warsy as possible. Animations have always been a bit hit and miss and sometimes feel a little otherworldly, which is a shame. Luckily though, this doesn't get in the way of gameplay, but it could definitely have had a little extra polish to smooth things off. Audio 5. The voice acting here is superb, and the game's soundtracks and effects have been really well implemented. It all adds together to just feel like you're playing in a Star Wars film, and there are a lot of familiar sounds for nerds like me to geek out on. Narrative 4. I've really enjoyed Kay Vess's story, and she stands out as one of my favourite protagonists. It is really easy to lose track of the narrative due to a significant number of side quests and activities, but Kay's story is a fitting inclusion in the Star Wars universe. Replay 5. There are a huge number of things you can do here, keeping the gameplay fresh around the slower sneaking sections. Sabak is great fun to play, and I've spent more than my fair share of time betting on the Canto Cup as well. There are also lots of treasure troves and a huge number of side quests as well, and a lot for completionists to tick off. Overall, my Pixel Bandits use the Force. Level for Star Wars Outlaws is a good 8 out of 10. The slow and steady gameplay may not work for everybody, but it has certainly ticked all of my boxes. While visuals do feel a little rough at times, the underlying game mechanics and action work really well with a lot of nice touches. While it is decent as a game, it is also incredibly faithful to the Star Wars franchise as a whole. The characters, story and locations all just feel incredibly fitting, and the team's work with Lucasfilm is readily apparent throughout. In addition to familiar locations such as Tatooine and Canto, every element of the game just drips with Star Wars nostalgia. There are definitely some rough edges which could do with a polish, but if you're a Star Wars fan and don't mind mixing in stealth sections, I definitely think you should take a look here. It's certainly not perfect, but there is a lot to love and an opportunity to get lost in the Star Wars universe for countless hours. As ever, to provide my review and common sense parents guide, I received free copies of Star Wars Outlaws from the folks at Ubisoft. And with Star Wars Outlaws rounded up, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you do have any questions, get them in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as possible. In the meantime, come and chat all things gaming with me in our community Discord or on all platforms which I've linked in the video description. Thanks for watching.